Okay. All right. So we're going to start and we're going to be looking at creating our Geneva wheel. The Geneva wheel is found on page 1137. You're going to notice here that the dimensions are in inches. So when we open up SolidWorks, we want to make sure that we're going in and we have the English units. If you have a template set up, it's going to be that IPS English units. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start this by creating a revolve for kind of the base of this Geneva wheel. And then we're going to be adding the other features in and also utilizing our circular pattern that we learned tonight as well. Okay. So I am going to go over to SolidWorks, get in there, SolidWorks. And I've already gone in and I've pulled up my template for the like the English units, if you would. If you need to do that, go ahead and do that. First thing that I'm going to do is we are going to go into the revolve command. So I'm going to make sure I'm on my features tab, go into the revolve command, and I'm going to select my front view. Okay. You're going to notice that my origin is on the screen here. So I'm going to start by putting a center line through and starting on my origin and then left clicking, hitting escape. And you're going to notice that you've got a center line here. So again, you can do this first, second, last, however, in this sketch, but before you leave the sketch, you want to make sure there's a center line. And again, I like to do it first, just so it's there for that revolve to know what to do. Then as we're looking, if I go back underneath here, you're going to notice that there is a hole through the middle, and you see that in the side view here as well. So our cross section is actually going to be this portion on the top here, and we're going to revolve around, and then we're going to, create kind of automatically a hole going through the center. Okay. So if I go back to SolidWorks over here, I am going to start with my line command, regular line command. I am going to hover over my my origin. I'm going to go directly above so I'm in line, and I'm going to start my line command here. Go up. Mine's probably thicker than what it needs to be, but it's going to go something like this. Oh, over here. My line. I didn't click when it was in line. There we go. Okay. Yours might be thinner or look a little different. That's okay. We're going to add our dimensions in just a bit. Okay. Now, as far as thickness wise, our dimension, it says I'm going to add a smart dimension. So thickness at the top here is going to be 1/2 inch, 0.5. What else do we have? If we look back at the illustration, if I have 0.5 here at the top, then the boss that's sticking out the front is also going to be a 0.5. So I am going to, or it's 1 inch overall. Oopsie, wrong one. So I'm going to go from here, this back side to the front. And since it has 1 inch, that's its dimension, I'm going to do 1 inch. There we go. Okay. Now, if you haven't already, you want to make sure that this vertical line here, okay, this vertical line here is in line with your origin. So if you need to, I put mine in line as I started, you're going to want to add a relation for this line and the origin to be coincident, okay? All right. And then that way they're always going to be in alignment and they're tied to the center. Sometimes if you get to the end, you're like, I have all the dimensions on, but it's telling me I'm underdefined. A lot of times it's because it's not physically tied to that origin. So if you need to add that relation, do that. Okay, so that's in place. Now what I'm going to do is I added my 1 inch dimension. I'm going to look here. It looks like I need a dimension for the hole. The hole diameter is 1.5. So I'm going to start at my center line, go up to my hole, but then remember, I'm going to go down below the center line. And I want this to be a diameter. So this is going to be 1.5. Okay, so that's going to be the bore that goes through the center. Then to the outside, I'm going to start my next dimension, center line first, up to that boss, down below the center line, and then left click, and that is going to be 2.5. There we go. Okay. And then lastly, the outside diameter of our Geneva wheel is going to go from the center line to the outside diameter, go back down below the center before you click, and this is going to be 8 inches. There we go. So you should have something that looks about like that. All right.
The center line.
Yep, remember you hit the center line for the dimension, then you go up to whatever feature you want, and then you go below the center line before you click, and then it becomes a diameter. Got it? Yeah. Yeah, that's a little bit of a, you gotta do it in the right order. And if you start with the line first, then go to the center, it won't do it. You have to start with the center line, go to your feature, and then down below the center line. Yeah. Okay, I'm fully defined. I'm black all the way around, so I can hit exit. And now remember we went in underneath revolve. So now just kind of move around here. It revolved around that center line. This is where if you don't put a center line in, it's going to probably be like, where do you want me to revolve? It might give you an error or something, or you have to go back and then add it in, which you can, which is not a big deal. But by putting it in right away, it knows what it's supposed to go around. Okay, so this looks good to me. I'm going to hit okay. And look at that. I've got my Geneva wheel, if you would, kind of the base feature all set. If I look back underneath here, I would have had to do this as an extrude on the back part and then another extrude forward. So it would have been 2 features, not a huge deal, but in a revolve, it's just a little bit more efficient. And especially when they're more complex and there's more features to it, then it really becomes an advantage. Okay, so now I've got my base done here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a fillet. Okay, and this is going to be a fillet at the feature level. Have you guys done fillets already? Not yet. Oh, maybe some have. Okay, so let's go and see where those are at. Now, you can do fillets in 2 places. You could do it, we could have put it in here as part of the sketch. There is a sketch fillet, but a lot of times when we have fillets as a feature, what's nice is they're on our design tree and now we can change them more easily. We don't have to try to hunt and find them. Okay, so you're going to notice on your feature tab, we have the fillet command in about the middle of our screen. Okay, so we're going to click on the fillet command, and all the fillet does is it creates a round at a corner. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to zoom in here. Whenever I have a fillet, I am always going to grab the intersection, not one of the surfaces. So you kind of see it looks different if I'm on a surface, but if I get to the intersection, it like lights up bright orange. Okay, so make sure you're on the intersection where you want this fillet to go. And we want it to be between the boss and like that base. Okay, so I'm right here. I'm going to click on that. And what it's going to do then, it's going to give us a nice little preview. Okay, so I can see, yep, my fillet is where I want it to go. Now, down here in your design tree, you have the opportunity to put in a radius. Okay, our radius is specified as 0.25 from our drawing. So I'm going to hit 0.25, enter, and it makes it a little bit bigger. So it shows us another preview and it still looks good. So then once that's in place, I'm just going to hit the green check mark and I'm all set. Okay. Now, something I didn't do, I didn't rename my revolve. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to rename my revolve. And then we may rename our fillet as well. So I'm going to left click on our revolve, right click, rename. What do we want to call it? You guys tell me, you get to name it. Wheelbase, sure. Wheelbase, excellent. Now, it isn't uncommon. Now, in this case, we only have 1 fillet, so I don't think it's necessary to rename it. But if you have a drawing where you have multiple fillets, you can have that opportunity here as well. 0.25 fillet, 0.5 fillet, whatever it might be. I'm going to leave it here, but again, use your discretion, be kind to the next person that's going to pull up your file, or even if you pull it up again, it's easier for you to go through. Okay, so just think about that. So in this case, there's only 1 fillet, so we're not going to worry about renaming, but I am going to expand out my wheelbase so I can see that I have a fully defined sketch underneath because I don't have any minus sign in front of my sketch here. It's just like the standard symbol. Okay, all right. Now let's go back underneath and let's look at, we've got kind of this base feature over here all done. The next things that we need to do is we have a cutout, kind of like a slot cutout. Then we have this radius cutout around the outside. and then we have the keyway that we're going to create, okay? I'm going to start by creating the cutout, okay? I'm going to choose one that is on either vertical or horizontal axis. So in this case, we have vertical. So whether you do the top one or the bottom one doesn't matter, okay? But I'm gonna do the one that's at the top here, and then I'm gonna select it and do a circular pattern to then create the rest of them evenly spaced around the center. So let's go back over here and kind of rotate this around. Whether you're on the front side or the back side does not matter, okay? Because it's going to be a cut that's going to be going through. So this is going to be an extrude cut, okay? And I'm going to just select the face that I'm going to go on, okay? Now, I'm going to have you peek over on the left-hand side here. I've been saying to you, if it's an underdefined sketch, there's going to be a minus sign in front of it. So I then pointed out earlier, but this is what you would see. If you would expand a sketch that is underdefined, see how in parentheses there's a minus in front of it? That's your clue, all right? If it's fully defined, don't see the minus, all right? That's why it's nice to expand those, not only for the person who's correcting the drawings, but again, like for you too, you can see everything is under or fully defined. So you're ready to hand in. You don't want to ever hand in anything that's not fully defined. Okay, so we're starting our sketch here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the radius at the bottom of that slot. Okay, I'm going to start with a circle. So I'm going to create a circle. I'm going to activate the center. Not going to click. I'm going to activate the center of my origin. I'm going to go straight up with that dotted line. And I'm just going to draw a circle right about here. And I'm going to make it, just a diameter, right? Hit escape. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to smart dimension that diameter, okay? And if we look underneath here, we're going to notice right here, they tell us that the width of that slot is a 1/2 inch or 0.5, okay? That means that that's the diameter, the distance across on the circle we just created. So that diameter is going to be 0.5, okay? Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create the vertical lines going up, all right? So I am going to get out of my smart dimension. I'm going to do a line. I want to activate the quadrants, okay, so that I snap to the quadrant. So if you have to go in a little bit, you want to snap to the quadrant, and then you're just going to do a horizontal line up to, let's see here, and past the outside diameter of the circle. Make sure it's a vertical line going straight up, okay? Then you can hit escape. Do another line like that on the other side, okay? Grab the quadrant, go up to the top, and then past your outside diameter, okay? All right. Now, as we can see, when we go back over here, this diameter is on a bolt circle again, right? So if you remember from our tutorial, we created a construction circle for the bolt circle. So we're going to do that very same thing here to locate where that starts. So we're going to draw a circle. We're going to start at our origin in the center and go to the center of our hole. Right now, that is a regular line. If you click construction before you even hit the OK, it works here to do it before we end that command. Or if you just have the circle, you reselect the circle, you can click construction there as well. Either way. Okay. So now make sure that this is a construction circle. So we see it as a diameter. And now we just want to add a smart dimension to that diameter. And that diameter is 4 inches on our drawing. Okay, so now it's pulling that down and it's defining where that circle is. And if it pulled those lines down, don't worry about that. It's totally fine. Okay. All right. Now what we're going to do is we are going to trim away the part of the circle that we don't need. Okay, so this part of our circle we don't need because we want it to just go to the lines. So if we go to trim entities, and you left click and drag across the portion you don't want, you should just be left with the bottom part of our slot. Okay. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to re-extend these back up. So I'm just going to left click on that point that's at the end of that line and drag it up past the outside diameter. If yours were long enough past and when you made your bolt circle, if it didn't go down below, that's totally fine. Mine were a little short for that. So you may or may not have to do that. Now, when we want to extrude cut something, we have to have a closed area. Okay. Right now, this is an open area. We can't extrude this. It would have a problem with that. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to capture that little radius that's up here. Now, because we are sketching in a new sketch from when we created that outside diameter, we can't just trim to that. So if I try to trim these lines, they're going to go to the next actual entity, which is down here, okay, in the sketch, because this line is not in that sketch yet. So I'm going to do an undo on that. There we go. And what I need to do is I need to bring that outside diameter into this sketch, and that's called converting entities. We're converting them to come into our current sketch, so we don't have to redraw them. So I'm going to select that outside diameter. Okay, just going to select it. And then up here in our sketch tab, we have convert entities. I'm going to click on that. Okay, and now you'll notice that that outside diameter turned black. Okay, it is now part of my sketch. Okay, that's what happened. Now, I don't want that full outside diameter. I just want this little part right in here. Okay, so now I'm going to trim. I'm going to left click here. I'm going to get rid of the outside diameter that I don't want. It's going to keep the inside, and then I'm going to go across these two lines. Okay, I just kind of did it in one sweep. If you do it in a couple, it's totally fine. But what you want to do is you want to be left with just that little portion between. Okay, so you shouldn't see a dark circle around the outside. You should just see this little part. Okay, yes.
You extend those lines without moving that. When I try to extend the lines, it moves it on the whole circle.
Oh, it does. Okay, that's okay. That's all right. Then what you have going on there. So the question is, when I move my lines, okay, they're moving on the bold circle. Okay, that's okay. What we want to do is, first of all, is your whole diameter moving?
The whole diameter.
The whole diameter. Okay. Then what happened there? So a couple things. When you put your center of your circle in, you didn't align it with the center here, which is okay. All you need to do then is go to add relations under display, delete relations, go to add relations, select the center of your small circle and the origin, and make those vertical to each other or coincident, one of those two. Okay. Did that happen for you now?
Looks like it.
Okay. All right. Now you're going to notice that we are underdefined here though, right? I'm underdefined and my diameter changed. So first of all, I'm going to change my diameter of my slot back to a 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to double click on my dimension. 0.5. Yours might be okay. So you may not have to do that, but I've got that at the right place. Now, what it doesn't know is these two sides, it doesn't know on either side of that center line, what is that dimension? Because one can be wider than the other. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to add a smart dimension to go from one of my sides, whichever it is, to the center of the circle. And I'm going to say, make that a driven dimension. I think that should be okay. Okay. Diameter. Why am I not fully defined here? I'm going to try this to this. Is that going to do it for me? No. Okay, now I'm a little baffled why mine isn't working, but sometimes you're like, I have all the dimensions, and even this happens to me sometimes too. Let's try this. So underneath our display or delete relations, you're going to notice that there is this fully defined sketch. Okay. Always try to fully define your sketches with the dimensions that you have. And I believe I'm fully defined. And sometimes you're just like, I must be missing a relation or something. So what SolidWorks has for you is, hey, I'll fix this for you. So you can fully define the sketch. Put this up here. It's still underdefined. What's wrong with it? I'm gonna hit OK. Okay, now I'm fully defined. You hit the OK button. Now I'm fully defined. I'm not exactly sure what it did different because I'm still seeing the dimensions I had. I don't see any different relations, but sometimes in a big software, it gets a little wonky. You might have been fully defined already, but if you ever get to that point where you're like, I don't understand, I don't see anything wrong, feel free to use that fully defined. Mine's already fully defined, so it's not giving me that option anymore, but it's underneath display, delete relations, and there'll be a third little button here, fully defined sketch, okay? All right, so now I'm fully defined because I don't want to do anything unless I'm fully defined, and I can exit here. And remember, I went in underneath the cut, okay? So cut extrude, it says up to surface. I'm gonna go through all. You're going to notice now I see a preview of what my cut is going to be. That looks good to me. And I'm going to say, okay. Okay. And there it is. Everybody do okay on that? All right. So now I've got one in. Couple things. I want to rename my cut extrude here. What do we want to call this? Sure. Let's call it the slot. S-L-O-T. Easy peasy. Yep. You could put 1/2-inch slot, you could put slot, you could put anything. All right. Something that's a little bit more descriptive than cut. We also want to expand our sketch to show that we are fully defined. Okay. And then because I don't want to redraw everything that I have here, I'm going to do a quick save as. And this is our Geneva wheel. Okay. All right. Now we have one of our slots in here. What do you suggest is our next step? Anyone? Something we learned tonight. Nope, not a revolve. I'm glad you said that. Remember, revolve is on like a cross section, not mirror. You're close though. We did mirror too. Yes, it's going to be the circular pattern. Excellent. No, these are new things. So I'm not expecting it to all be there. I know you knew what you wanted to do, but maybe not sure what it was called. So you want to be on the feature tab here and we want to select the slot because we want to select what we want to do our circular pattern on. We're going to go all the way over. Now remember, linear pattern is always going to be on top, but there's that arrow down underneath. And the second one that we see here is our circular pattern. Okay. So circular pattern, direction. So it's looking for what center line do we want to go around? And you're going to notice if I revolve this a little bit, it doesn't show me any of those centers. So I need to go up to my little eyeball here. And I'm going to go to the second row, the one on the right, view temporary axes. Okay. Click on that. And you can click anywhere outside of that. And now you should see the axis going through the center here. Okay. We're going to left click on that. And now this one needs 6 instances. If we look back at our drawing, it remembers if we didn't close out of our session, we had 5 on our last tutorial. So we just want to make sure that this is 6. Hit enter and that looks good. So now I can hit OK. And I've got my 6 slots in place. So then I'm not going to redo a circular pattern because it's always going to coincide with the feature above. So you don't have to worry about that one. I just like to do a quick save because I don't want to redo that. And I've got that in place. This looks good. Back underneath. So we've got all of our slots in place. We've got our cross section on our revolve. The last 2 features we need to do here yet are the arcs and then our keyway. Okay, so let's do our arc cutouts on each one of these. The one that I'm going to pick, and you could I always like to, again, start on like a quadrant or a vertical or a horizontal. So this one over here is on the horizontal axis, or this one. These guys are at angles. Okay, so you would have to add an angle and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna draw the one over on the left-hand side here. You're gonna notice in this case, the center of that arc is a radius of 4.5 inches out. It's along that horizontal line, okay? And then the radius of it is 1.5 inches, okay? So to get started, I'm gonna go to SolidWorks, all right? And we are going to be doing an extrude cut. So we're gonna create one first, and then we're gonna do a circular pattern to get the rest of them in place. So I'm going to click on extrude cut, and I'm just going to select the face, whether it's the front or the back, does not matter. I'm just going to select the face that I'm going to be then creating my axis or my arc on. Okay. Now, as I look back at this, I'm going to create a construction line horizontal going out past the outside diameter, because that is going to be the line for which my center is going to be. Okay. And then I'm also going to create a construction line at a radius of 4.5 so that I can start my center then at the intersection of those two construction lines. Okay. For my arc. So construction lines for each one of those. So I'm going to go to the line command. I'm going to start in the center. Now, Isaac just taught me this, so I'm going to practice it. So I'm going to left click, I'm going to hold, go horizontal, make sure you're horizontal, go past the base, okay, and then release. Once you release, notice that it's not going to continue with the line command, okay? We've just created one. And then now it gives us the option to click right away for construction without going outside of that command and having to click and go back in. And then we can hit OK. I love that. I love that. Thank you. So that's our horizontal line in place. Now what we want to do is we want to create that circle with a radius of 4.5. So we're going to create a regular circle here. We're going to start at our center of our Geneva wheel, and we're just going to draw it out, you know, like around here-ish, okay? Now, in this case, without going outside of the command, we can do for construction right away, and we can hit OK. Now, if you didn't do that, you can just reselect it, go back in, hit for construction. So whether you do it on the front end or the back end does not matter. Now what we want to do is we want to add our diameter for this circle, and it's going to go to the outside diameter, which is fine. And we want this to be, if this radius is 4.5, we want the outside diameter to be 9. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. All right. So now we have an intersection between these two items where we can start our arc or our circle. So I'm going to go to a circle command. And you're going to notice that when we get close to that intersection, it lights up with an orange dot. That means that now I can click and it's going to snap to that place. So I'm going to snap to that position. And then I'm going to create an arc so it kind of overlaps to the inside here. And then now we don't want to do for construction on this one. We want to leave it as a regular line. And I'm going to hit OK. Then I'm going to smart dimension. And this one has a radius of 1.5, so a diameter of 3. Okay. All right. So we've got a 3-inch diameter at the intersection of our line and our circle, and it has a diameter of 3 inches. Okay. Now, if we go back over here, we want to create a closed area of our radius and this portion right here, okay? Right now, we have kind of an open circle. So if you remember, on our tutorial, we did a convert entities to utilize features that were constructed on a different sketch. Okay, so now that we're in a new sketch, it doesn't recognize those. So we want to pull those in. So this radius right here, we're going to select it. And we're going to convert that entity. So now notice that this entire arc here is dark, okay, or black. We've pulled that in. Now we have everything we need to trim. So I'm going to trim, and I'm going to get rid of first, left click, drag across this little portion here. Then I'm going to left click, drag across, and drag across to get to here, and drag across there. And then I want to do it one more time right here so that I only have this closed area right there. And then I'm going to hit OK. Notice now that we are fully defined and that the outline of the portion that I want to cut away is all black. Okay. When I'm there, I am ready to exit this sketch and then cut that away. So I'm going to exit this sketch. And I'm going to rotate here a little bit. Right now it has through all, which is fine. Maybe up to next is fine too. But this is good. So I'm going to leave that and I'm going to say, okay. And now you're going to notice that I have a cutout for that radius. I'm going to left click on it, right click, and I'm going to rename that tree item. What do we want to rename it? Any ideas? Yeah, I know. Sometimes you're like, what do I call it? It's not a cut extrude. Sure. Wide slot. Okay, good. Wide slot. Well, I want to expand that out so that I can see that my sketch number 3 is fully defined. Okay. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to circular pattern this all the way around so that I have 6 instances going about the center. What I want you to do is I want you to do that. I'm going to give you 2 minutes and I'm going to let you do your circular pattern to do 6 instances around the center. And then I'll demonstrate it in just a little bit. I want to give you a chance to do it independently. See if you remember how to do the circular pattern. Yeah.
Is there a way, this happened to me before, but I had to redo it, but is there a way to undo it in the future?
And hold on 1 second. I am going to.
In the future.
I'm going to resume. Okay, so to do our wide slot circular pattern, I'm going to select that wide slot. I'm going to go up under linear pattern, circular pattern, and I need to select. It's looking for the direction. I don't know why they call it direction, but they're looking for an axis here of what we want to revolve around. So as long as you didn't unhide or uncheck the view temporary axes, you should be still seeing that little axis there. And then you want to make sure that you have 6 instances evenly spaced around 360 degrees. We have a nice preview here. This looks excellent. And I'm going to hit OK. And now you're going to notice that we have our final form with those wide slots in the circular pattern all the way around. I'm going to do a quick file save. And it looks good. There's one more feature left, okay? The last feature that we have is going to be our keyway, okay? So we go underneath, you're going to notice that they have a 0.36 by 0.2 keyway. The 0.36 is the width of the keyway horizontally, and then the 0.2 is going to be the height of the keyway, all right? So to put this in, there are a lot of different ways that you could put this in if you wanted to. So the way that I do it, if you know, you have another approach, that doesn't mean that it's going to be any different or any better or worse than the way I'm going to show you. So I am going to go into, this is going to be an extrude cut because we're going to cut this material away. And we are going to, I'm going to select the front face of the boss. You could be on the back side too. It doesn't matter, whichever side you prefer. So I'm just going to go on the boss. And now I am going to sketch my keyway. I'm going to kind of zoom in here a little bit and I'm going to grab the rectangle command. I'm not sure if you guys have used this one before, but below the line, there's a rectangle. And all you do with a rectangle is you are going to click, whether it's a lower left to an upper right or an upper left to a lower right. And that's, we're just going to create so it's a left click and I'm just going to create a rectangle. Okay. And once you have that in place, it's there. So we're just sketching it in this place. Now, the next thing I want to do is, because this is going to get rid of that portion on the radius, I want to convert that outside diameter into my sketch because I need to create a closed area for the part that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to go back to SolidWorks here. I'm going to select this diameter, okay, that inside diameter, the bore that's going through, and I'm going to convert that entity. And now you'll notice that it's a black circle. So now what that means, it's in my current sketch. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the portions that I don't want before I actually do my dimensions. Okay. And you'll see why in just a second. So I'm going to trim away the outside part of my circle. Okay. I want to keep that inside part. I'm going to get rid of the lower part of my rectangle. So I just see the upper part. Okay. Your proportions are obviously going to be a little different than mine, but I just want to have my rectangle and then that inner circle. Okay. And once I have that trimmed away with just these portions, I can hit okay. Now I'm going to do my smart dimensions. So the first smart dimension I'm going to do is going to be the width of my keyway. And I know I want that to be 0.36. Okay. Now you're going to notice it looks a little wonky. All right. And it looks a little wonky because I didn't tie it to the origin or anything, and you probably didn't either. Okay. That's okay. Because now what I'm going to do is I am going to left click on this vertical line, and I'm going to go, oopsie, I don't want to be in the dimension. Make sure you're out of the dimension for this. I'm going to left click that. Got to get closer. Don't go on the center line. I'm going to left click that vertical line, and I'm just going to pull it out over here. Okay. And I want to take that I want a smart dimension again from the vertical line to my origin. And I want to be in between here. So don't go at an angle, don't go vertical. I want to go from that vertical line to the origin, left click, and I need that to be half of 0.36. So it's going to be 0.18. Okay. Then I'm going to reselect my width, and I want that to be 0.36. Okay. So I need a dimension 0.18 from the vertical line to the origin, and then for the total width. So 0.18 and 0.36. Now, you'll notice that I have black on my arc on the bottom here. I have black on the two vertical lines, but blue is still my horizontal line because it doesn't know vertically where to put that. Okay. So now this is where I'm going to do a smart dimension, and you're just going to select whether it's the left side or the right side, doesn't matter, that vertical line. And I'm going to left click. This is my 0.2 dimension. Okay. 0.2 here. And now you should be fully defined with your keyway. Everybody good? Okay. So the 0.18, the 0.36, and then the 0.2. And then make sure that you have that arc in the middle because you need a closed area. Once we're here, we now should check we're fully defined. Indeed, we are. I'm going to exit. I'm going to rotate it to see where I'm at. I have it selected as through all, and it looks like it's going through, which looks good. If you need to change around, from blind to something else, through all works well. And I'm going to hit OK, left click, and now you're going to notice I have that keyway going through. Okay. Now I want to rename that cut extrude. So I'm going to left click, right click, rename. And what do we want to call it? Keyway. Yeah, like it. There you go. And then you're going to expand that out so you can see that sketch number 4 is fully defined. Okay. All right. And then now that takes care of all the features that are on this part. We're ready to prepare ourselves for our screenshot. So I'm going to do one last save. I'm going to control middle mouse button and move this over. I'm going to change my material. Okay. So I've got to go back to my assignments. For the Geneva wheel, this is 1020 steel. Okay. So I'm going to go to material, left click, right click, edit material, steel. You need to expand it and then go down to AISI 120. Okay. Make sure that your English on your chart, hit apply and close. Now that the material is assigned, we're going to go up to the evaluate tab, mass properties, and you're going to position your table so it's alongside your model. Okay. And then you're going to take a screenshot, including the design tree with the expanded sketches, all the renames, your model, and your mass properties table. And that is going to be your screenshot for the Geneva Wheel Assignment 3 hand-in. Any questions? All right. Good night.